Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. This is a game that finished about a minute or two ago. Look, again, highly accurate. Both sides accurate. My side was highly accurate, contributing to the win, and then I had a great move and a brilliant move, so I'm excited to see exactly which move those were, because it was a tense battle throughout. I thought my opponent played very well. No reason to hang his, her, or they had, and same here. So it's just a quality game of chess. I'll review it here. Just about move for move. Maybe I average about half of the moves. I'll explain. So, in my opinion, that's a lot, and I hope you appreciate what wisdom or chess wisdom or both that I impart. Here we go. I had the white pieces. Starting with d4 again recently, I've been doing that, and my opponent sets up in this Fian Shadow early. Looks like a King's Indian defense might be on our hands, and I get my bishop in place on e2. It's the best square for the bishop. D3 is possible, but I don't like how it blocks the queen's defense of d4. And we see that the battery of queen on d1 and bishop on e2 control the h5 square so very well in the event of an h-pawn storm. We'll see this play out in the game, and this is a sort of a thematic weakness in the King's Indian defense. Pawn to h4. Pawn to a6. I'm critical of this move. Computer likes it as computer best move. It keeps my knight off of b5. White hasn't signaled that, and I'm not sure that this is really. I'm a little bit critical. Then again, Stockfish 18. Oh, sorry, Torch 4 Light considers it as Black's best move. Black's best available move. And so, again, in this theme of accuracy, pawn to h5 and knight takes h5. These are all accurate moves, forcing or semi-forcing. Here, I'm sure the computer wants me to capture with the rook. And that's probably right. Let's take a look on the chart here. Okay, so I capture on h5, recapture on h5, and then Torch suggests rook takes h5 as one of these best moves. With queen takes h5, not all that far behind really. Best move by black keeps white ahead 2/10 of a pawn. Bishop takes d4, loses this pawn in the middle of the board, and I'm not all that worried about that, to be honest. We'll come back to maybe h6 and stop black's ability to castle for a little while, along with attacking pieces like the queen at h5 and the rook at h1. This knight, if he gets out of the way of black's dark square bishop, can contribute to the attack. So the pawn grab on d4 doesn't speak to me. Pawn to h6. Again, like pawn to a6. Too slow. Too slow. White's gonna gather more troops for the fight. Develop my bishop somewhere that makes sense. And move on from there. I want to say too, g5 makes sense. It's as played in the game. First I get my knight out to f3, and now with another slow move, I'm going to play knight to g5, because the pawn is kind of pinned. As we see in the game with the blunder, h takes g5, queen takes h8 check. It's a queen sacrifice, folks. I should have known that was the brilliant move. Yeah, this game has a queen. This game has a queen sacrifice. So, queen takes h8 check. Bishop takes h8. rook takes h8 check, and when the king moves, we could capture the queen right away, but white has even more wily plans up his sleeve. I don't want to give away that rook, so I'll capture a pawn instead, capture another pawn instead, give away a bishop instead, and then grab capture the queen on d8 directly, quite directly. Not only that, with this rook on the 8th rank, the bishop has to move to avoid capture, and the rook will be capturing the knight. The rook will be protecting the knight at b8. But we kind of got we got two of black's 3 pieces handcuffed by just the rook on d8. So I'm feeling we're gonna win this game. We have a 4-point material advantage, and I'm just sort of pushing pawns forward, creating safe threats here. Of course, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. The king attacks my rook at d8. My rook at d8 is under attack, so I just scoot him all the way over to h8, and then black decides knight d7, and I can trade one of my rooks off for his only rook. And white is still doing well, even better now that there's less material on the board. We'll get rid of this pawn, sort of loosen things up for my superior mobility afforded by having the only rook, and then this rook's gonna go to work. I mean, maybe first we play knight to d5, threatening to capture on c7 with check. So there's a little bit of a collapse here, but I think the important we'll come back to move 22. I think some of the important moves here were h4. This is how to attack. Then, with noticing some slow moves, continuing with the pawn storm, and whichever way was correct to capture here, white is still for the better. Noticing that h6 was again strong, but h6 was again slow. It also doesn't. I think it doesn't do what it sets out to do, which is control the g5 square. Be mature in my attack. So it's to develop my pieces first, get the attack really wound up, and then let loose. So after e6, the let loose starts with the knight sacrifice g5. Peter is against it. It did induce this h takes g5 blunder. Let's take a look here. Rook to knight to g5. Queen e7, torch 4 says is the undoing. Yeah. Protecting the f7 pawn, critical second time. It's not that it's not that the pawn can't take on g5, but that's not the thing. The thing is I'm threatening checkmate. So the pawn captures on g5 to get away with that, or do away with that checkmate. The pawn captures on g5 to do away with any kind of checkmate on f7, at least for the time being. And I had this other attack in mind, sacrificing the queen on h8. So I have almost enough from my queen already, with a rook and a bishop, 8 points to 9. And now this brouhaha here, where the king's moved out of place. I'll be a full pawn ahead after rook takes d8, king takes d8, and then another after bishop takes g5. Okay, but when you're gonna do it, you really should do it. And that's the idea behind bishop to g5 check. King, the block, the move pawn to f6 is a block. It is best move, and still not good enough. I get, you know, 2 pawns for a bishop. You can kind of think of it as not all that different of a thing. A full queen, that's a different of a thing. Okay. Rook takes d8. We were somewhere. Yeah. So all this is some of the important moves for h4, h5, h4, h5. And then queen h8. Actually, most of the moves from 6 through 12, or even 6 through 14, that's the crux of this game. But let's finish it out to be neat and tidy about our analysis. We had the position right about here, and c6, and I'm just grabbing the knight, the bishop here. I'm grabbing the knight to go get the bishop, maybe. That doesn't usually play. King takes e4. Keep my pawn safe, because what if they need to become promoted? And then get the g pawn going in a safe and strong manner. Knight takes b6 is almost unnecessary, but white's gonna win in any kind of reduction. I like the word would be wherewithal, or the stubbornness or resilience, however you want to call it, that after this kind of actually incorrectly concocted knight takes b6, I thought king takes b6 right away, and then rook takes d4 with no fork to be found. My opponent showed a little bit of flair here at the end with d3, because when I capture, he gets a rook. Let's see, he loses a pawn and a bishop. No, he loses a pawn and a knight, and I lose a rook and a knight. So I was fortunate in some way that even this structure here on f3, and especially given that and a pawn majority on the queen side, there's no stopping a white win here. My opponent resigned in light of that. So I'll now be going over this end game. We've gone over this, but it sometimes doesn't hurt to really nail down some basics. Commit my king to the queen side. The point is 1, 2, and he gets to the optimal spot. Black king can get to the optimal spot here, but he will not capture f3 without unleashing my pawn on g4 to g5 to g6 to g7 to g8. There's no way for the king to cover enough squares to get back. This is one of the most important endgame. It's one of the simplest and most important endgame structures of all. As long as my opponent's king is, sort of sitting on f4 and g5 back and forth, then I can do anything I want on the queen side. We'd say, well, let's just go here and protect the pawn on the queen side. Aha, not a bad idea. Protect this pawn, maybe hold these guys up, then these guys get rolling. The king walks too far away, and the problem has only shifted one square closer to promotion. And then sometimes it gets to the point where the king's so far away, and with a pawn on g5, g6, g7, g8 is too quick. Too quick for black's king to stop. And the promoted pawn goes to queen, and after that we just sort of wipe the board if our opponent is still is playing on at that point. Okay, so we have, this is white to move. Let's play this white to move. I like going for the pawn first. Let's just make it super clear that black is not quick enough. Okay, checkmate. All right, my friends. So with the finish, over 90%, over 80%. It's a very strong game of chess. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.